been reading and collecting Bigfoot and cryptid stories for about 2 years now, and I'm going to tell you a story now that I actually just heard the other day. Actually, a viewer gave me permission to share this story, and so far, this is my favorite story of all time. And I couldn't wait to get it written and share it with you. So here we go. Thank you, Paul, for allowing me to share this story. I think it's wonderful. I grew up on a farm in the West Virginia mountains. My pap raised cows there on the farm. Cows are, for the most part, docile and gentle creatures. Even bulls will rarely give you problems if you can keep them separated from the females and the calves. However, at this time, my pap had a bull that was very mean. Pap kept that bull far away from the herd in a secure enclosure, and I was told to stay away from that bull. I would spend the days playing all around the property, and sometimes I would go out into the pastures where we kept the cows. One evening, I was out in the pasture about 300 yards from the house, just playing like I always did, when I heard a fence break several hundred yards away. I thought it was my pap working on the fence, but when I looked in that direction, that mean old bull had broken down the fence and he was running straight towards me. I was in big trouble. Even at 5 years old, I was able to think quickly, and I knew I could not make it to the house before that bull got to me. My only option was to climb a small tree a few yards ahead of me and get above the bull so that he could not get to me. Within a few seconds, I had a grip on the bottom branch and was in the tree quickly. When the bull got to me, it started charging and hitting the trunk of the tree. It would shake the small tree to the point to where I was hanging on for life. It charged and hit the tree over and over, and I could clearly see that this tree was about to go down with me in it. The bull would back up, he would rear his head, and then stomp around in circles with its head raised high in the air, only to lower its head and charge again. It was furious. I was yelling and screaming to my pap to come help me. The bull kept banging into the tree, and it was now leaning over. I think the bull could have reached me where I now was in the leaning tree, but he just kept charging the spot that he had started on. I just held on for dear life. I looked over towards the house, and I could see my pap coming in his 4x4 truck. He blazed down the road and busted through the gate and ran over another fence trying to get to me. I finally felt like I might survive this episode. Pap was on his way, but he was still a few hundred yards off, and that big bull just kept after me. The bull had pushed the tree over, and I was hung in the weak branches of the tree only a few feet above the ground, and the bull came around to get me. I was crying and still screaming. No way Pap was going to get to me now. I could hear the bull stomping as he came around the top of the downed tree. I just closed my eyes and waited on the inevitable. Then I heard another scream from the woods only about 30 or 40 yards away. I opened my eyes and caught a brief image of something huge blaze past me. It got past me to the bull in a flash, like lightning fast. It was a huge, hairy creature, much bigger than the bull. As it bore down on that bull, it made a long, arching swing, like a right hook a boxer would throw, and hit that bull in the side of the head. The bull spun 360 degrees and landed on its side. I think it was dead because all I noticed was its legs twitching. I raised my eyes back to the creature, and it was a giant, hairy female. It was a Sasquatch. I knew it was a female because I could clearly see her breasts. She looked at me for a second as if checking to see if I was okay. She reached down and gently pulled me out of the tree. My whole back and rear end fit in her hand. She sat me down and gave me a gentle nudge towards the house. I started walking towards the house and noticed my pap was getting close. Only a few steps away from the tree, I turned to look back at this creature, and she had gone back to the bull. She lifted one of her big legs and crushed down on the bull's head. She had finished that mean old bull off. Then she looked and saw that my pap was almost there, and she ran back into the woods. I could hear her crashing through the limbs as she made her escape. Pap was there and mashed the brakes. He was going so fast that his truck slid to a stop right in front of me. He jumped out, grabbed me up, and put me in the cab of the truck. He raced back to the driver's side and threw the truck in gear, and we drove back to the house. "Pap, did you see that woman who saved me?" I asked. "I sure did, son. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Pap," I said with tears rolling down my face. As we approached the barn next to the house, Pap said, "Come on in here with me. I want to show you something." He led me into the barn, and from a loft he handed me a plaster cast. It was a giant footprint. Then he got down from the loft and he lifted me up so that I could see into the area, and I saw a pile of these casts. He hoisted me down and explained that we had creatures like the big hairy woman living in the woods with us. He told me that I didn't need to be afraid of them. I found out later that my pap had been making these plaster casts for years and that he knew all about these beasts. He had never had any trouble with them, but he never talked about it to anyone. He had kept this his secret. I don't know why, but I suppose he either thought that people would think he was crazy, or if people believed him, they would start coming to the farm and disturb these creatures. I am like my pap. I am 47 years old now, and this is the first time I have shared this story. For years after this incident, I played in the fields and in the woods. I always felt safe. I had a feeling they were watching me all the time. It didn't bother me because I knew they were keeping up with me in a good way. They meant no harm to me. Often I would take vegetables from the garden and lay them inside the woods. The next day the vegetables would be gone and they would have left me a gift. Sometimes there would be strange shaped rocks, sometimes crystals, and a few times they left me old arrowheads. In the cold months, my pap would let me take them sweet oats, and we would often leave them game we had taken while hunting. Once I made a sort of a drum, and I would play like I was an Indian and beat that drum off in the woods. Not often, but a few times I heard drums respond late in the evening. My pap has since passed away, but the land still belongs to my family. The barns have all fallen down, and the land is part of a game reserve. Now no one lives there, and the farm has grown up and is thick with brush and woods. To this day, I am thankful to the big female who saved me from that bull. That bull weighed more than 1,200 pounds, and it was nothing for her to kill that animal with one hand. They are powerful creatures, probably the most powerful animal in North America, and I know that they can be aggressive. But if you belong to a piece of land, then they do not see you as a threat, and sometimes they will come to your rescue.